So I got some free time today and I wanted to try a challenge that I've been wanting to do for a while now, which is try and get a Paramore kind of drum sound. So we all know the Riot drum sound is just like so heavily sampled, it's so punchy, clean and in your face. It's ridiculous, like it's almost like a meme how like massive that snare is. So I thought it'd be really fun to try and recreate, you know, a really clean, punchy, powerful rock drum sound without samples. So yeah, this video is definitely inspired by Michael Rotoff. So if any of you haven't seen his video yet, please check it out. He's basically doing the same thing I'm doing here today. He's trying to get close to that like super punchy, powerful kind of rock drum tone without using samples. And yeah, so Michael is an amazing player, amazing engineer and producer, so definitely check out his work. And just one other thing before I get to tracking, I wanted to do maybe a different tune than Misery Business because I think there's a lot of better songs. Oh, I'm not in focus. There's a lot of better songs on Riot than Misery Business, but just the snare sound on Misery Business is just like crazy. It's like the album has a pretty consistent drum sound, but on Misery Business you've got like that ring to the snare or something. I don't know what it is, it's just massive. So yeah, it kind of had to be Misery Business because that's the Riot drum sound. Let's be real. So I spent a bit of time last night setting up the mics, and yeah, today I'm gonna give it a go with tracking. So let me talk you through the setup. We got SE8s as the overheads, and yeah, they're kind of pretty focused in on the two cymbals to get some nice kind of panning. So the track has got kind of, you know, pretty wide panning on the cymbals. So that's what we're going to be doing there. And now this is a pretty fun part. For the kick, we got a lot of stuff going on here. We got my MXL R144 on the kick out. So that's going to pick up some nice kind of resonant low end. So the kick sound is kind of like probably got a good few layers of samples on it. So it's got like a lot of actually length and kind of sub and boom to it, but it's also got like insane click and definition. So that's why, you know, I'm using a couple of mics on the kick. I got a D112 kind of just outside the port, and then it'd be hard to see here, but I got my D6 right in on the beater, picking up that attack. So I like to use different mics in the kick and kind of experiment. And yeah, just the D6 has got a lot of top end, so it was sounding really good in there. And the D112 is a bit more open, so that's the top process there. So all the mics are sounding pretty good together, so I'm excited to see how it turns out. Now, I only recently picked these up. Got some used E604s from Sennheiser. These are just such good tom mics. I got them for cheap and oh my god, yeah. Like people use them because they're convenient, but they're not just convenient, they actually sound amazing too in my opinion. They don't have that kind of ping that you kind of get on the toms with like certain mics. Just sound really good. Then we got our Wurst mic. Bit of a classic there, just to kind of help beef up the snare because we're going to have to get such a fat snare tone to compete with the record. So I'm trying to cover as many options as I can. So I got 57 top and bottom. So yeah, I'm going to try and get some nice snap from the bottom, and then yeah, some nice kind of attack, beef, and like kind of trying to get some of the ring that you hear on the record through this mic. So the drum is pretty open sounding, which, you know, I'm trying to hopefully use all the mics to get the balance, you know. There's kind of like multiple layers, I think, on the snare. So you're getting like this kind of ringy snare, you're getting like this fat snare, this cracky, I don't know, it's just going to be really hard to replicate. So I want to cover as many options as I can. Right, so now to finish off, I've got stereo rooms, so let's check this out. So I've got MXL V67Gs, large diaphragm condensers, pointed towards the corner of the room to try and beef up the sound and just pick up the reflections. And here's my second. And yeah, they're just gonna hopefully add some nice energy. So if anyone watched Michael's video, he demonstrated really well how important room mics are for capturing like big sounds. So a lot of the time I think not having room mics kind of means you have to sample to get kind of big sounds, because you know close mics can only sound kind of so energetic, you know. So they're gonna help out big time. So now I've set the gain as low as I can on my camera mic here, but I want to just show you maybe some of the tunings I've gone for to see if that kind of helps some of you guys out. So the kick, got it tuned low. Yeah, pretty punchy. Snare, as I said, it's quite open. Just kind of mid-low kind of tuning. So it's got some nice resonance, got some nice low end, but it's also got some nice crack with the rim shot. I'm also going to play my sticks backwards just to get a bit more fatness, because again, we've got so much work to do to get as big a tone as on the record. And the toms, pretty just low, punchy, dry. Should work nicely. Something else I'd like to point out is actually in the cymbals. So everyone knows Zach Farro for having dark, kind of big, warm cymbals, but on the Riot album you hear like cymbals that are very bright and short sounding, you know. I don't know if it was the producer that suggested the cymbals, or if they're sampled, or if they're MIDI cymbals. I don't know what they are, but they're really short and bright. So I've been thinking about that for recording. So what I've done is I've got my 18-inch Evolution Crash here with some tape just to shorten the sustain. It's an 18, but it sounds like a 16 on the record, or maybe it's like a 17 or 18 that's just like smacked really hard, so that it's like kind of cuts the sustain, but I'm not 100% sure. So then for my kind of main wash crash, I got a 20-inch AA tin crash, and yeah, I've done the same. I've just dialed it in with a bit of tape, so I just kind of played around, and there's a tiny bit of tape there. I just tried to dial in a nice amount of sustain for the track. So yeah. So now here we are in Logic. I want to take you guys through the processing and the raw drum tracks. So first of all, here is the raw tracks with absolutely no plugins. So you see here the toms have been cut. So yeah, I'm really happy with that as a starting point. I think it's really strong for raw drum tracks. So let me take you through some of the individual channels. So here are the room mics. And now the toms, which have been cut. Okay, so the kick out. Support. And kick in. The Wurst mic. Snare bottom. And snare top. So the ring on the snare there is actually vital, I think, in getting this type of sound. And now the overheads. Pretty nice balanced overheads. And yeah, let's throw in all the plugins. So, sounds pretty big. Let's check out some of the processing. So the rooms. So we got some compression. And we got some EQ. Here I'm just getting rid of that kind of 2K resonance. And I'm taking out low end to let the kind of kick mics speak a bit more. So here's the 3 kick mics. So the kick out is massive. So I've got EQ, boosting 50, 60 hertz-ish kind of area. And the great thing about the ribbon is it doesn't have that kind of top end of a traditional mic. So if you listen, the bleed is actually really good. And then I just took out some of the very top end. So yeah, it's pretty much no bleed from the cymbals. And the kick port, and also it's quite heavily compressed here to keep it really powerful, and also to bring out some of that sustain of the resonance of the low end. The kick port, it's nothing special, it's not really doing that much, it's more the kick in and out that are having the most impact. So I flipped the phase and added some EQ. And now the D6 in is really aggressively EQ'd. A bit ridiculous, to be honest, but whatever works, works. Got some tube EQ as well. Some compression. And an expander. Just helps get rid of some of the bleed, but keeps it sounding, you know, gets rid of the bleed without having that kind of splatty gate sound that can be nasty. You know, the cymbals are just kind of spitting. So you hear there, it just kind of gets rid of some of the cymbals. Tightens everything up and makes the kick just a bit punchier. Okay, so the Wurst mic now. This is really aggressively compressed. And we got some EQ as well. So So what I'm trying to get out of this mic is kind of add to that ring from the snare and just kind of get an aggressive mid-range sound. So I've boosted the kind of ringy area on the snare. So check out the energy this mic adds. So if I take it out, kind of fills out the mid-range of the sound and makes it a bit punchier, a bit more aggressive, and just more exciting to listen to. Okay, so the overheads. Nothing special here. Bit of compression. So a little bit of compression and then EQ. Very minimal, just high passing to leave some room for the low end. Again in the close mics. And a bit of 2K taken out. Just tightens them up a bit. So with the snare, we've got some tube EQ, adding a lot of top end and some low end. We've got an expander, which is just focusing the snare that bit more. It's just focusing the snare like the kick, getting the snare to bleed ratio a bit cleaner. So you'll see there with the hats. Just cleans it up. And we got a compressor. Pretty heavily compressed. So I started with a preset and then dialed it back. Then I slapped on a reverb. I know people like to send the reverbs, I do as well, but I slapped it on and sounded good, so stayed with it. And last but not least, another reverb, another EQ to add ring to the snare. So this EQ is just for added ring. I want that snare to ring. So, I hope you guys dig the sound. I was really happy with how this turned out, and yeah, check out the full mix in my cover. Thanks for watching.